Thank you so much. Ms. Bonamici, I now recognize you for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Fox and Ranking Member Scott. I want to start by expressing my strong opposition to the notion that the solution to the so-called crisis in American education is to funnel taxpayer dollars to unaccountable private schools and for-profit charter schools. Voucher programs of all types, whether they're traditional vouchers, education savings accounts, or tax credit scholarships, undermine the effectiveness of public education. Research has shown repeatedly that vouchers do not improve student achievement, and when policymakers make a conscious decision to give coupons to certain students to attend private schools, their message to the millions of students still attending public schools is you don't matter. It's not important to us to equip your school to serve you and all students well. A real crisis in American education is that many of my colleagues in Congress and in state legislatures are applying a divisive strategy rooted in discrimination toward and exclusion of LGBTQ students and students with disabilities, trying to censor and silence content that does not fit their political ideology and agenda, defunding public schools, and failing to address gun violence. I spent more than 15 years as an active parent volunteer in public schools and an advocate for public education. I was in many schools, many classrooms, and many conversations. We can all agree that parent and family engagement is an instrumental part of creating a safe, inclusive, and supportive public schools environment for all students. And I welcome the opportunity to work with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to uplift best practices, evidence-based practices, in family engagement, rather than pit parents against their kids' educators and schools. So Governor Polis, it's great to see you. Welcome back. I'm grateful for your leadership in closing the opportunity gap for students in Colorado and in helping students recover lost learning time from the pandemic. You understand that developing parent and family engagement strategies is a requirement under ESEA for schools receiving federal funding. So I have a two-part question, and this is my first question. Why is it important for educators to authentically and meaningfully engage with parents and families? And how are Colorado's school districts implementing parent and family engagement strategies that reach culturally, linguistically, and socioeconomically diverse parents and families, and that support the health and well-being of LGBTQ students?
Thank you, Representative Bonamici. Involving parents is absolutely critical in success. And when you look at best practices at the site level, principals, school leaders, at the classroom level, teachers, one of the big markers for success is how well parents are included in that process. I've seen school leaders do inventory of skills of parents and find ways that parents can supplement and provide additional learning opportunities for kids at the classroom level, making sure that parents are partners and know what their students assigned for homework. A lot of new technologies have enabled more involvement of parents on a regular basis, which is absolutely wonderful towards achieving success. We do it through conventional structures like PTAs and PTOs, but also at the classroom level in new and innovative ways. When you look at the bright spot schools that improved 2 bands of achievement during the pandemic, which was a very challenging time, every school had their own localized strategy, but one common theme across many of them were successful strategies to involve parents and sometimes even the community at large in the education. We appreciate the federal investment in helping to forge parent, student, teacher partnerships with all learners, including learners from diverse backgrounds, which in a state like Colorado and many states across the country often means you need to look at different languages. When you have parents that speak Spanish or Vietnamese or any other language, and you can't always just rely on the student as that translator. It's often too much to put on the shoulders of a 3rd or 4th grader, and also the student themselves might not be fully proficient in both languages. So making sure that schools have access to not just the second most language. In our state, providing the access in Spanish is relatively easy, but we have elementary schools in Aurora, Colorado that have 28 languages that parents speak at that school. And making sure it's open and
I don't want to cut you off,
critical.
but I just want to ask you about, you said you visited is it Chatfield
Yes.
Elementary School? And you can tell when you enter a school, there's a joy of learning and, the students thriving. So can you tell us a little bit about the visit and elaborate on how COVID relief funds help make improvements possible and helped your state focus on professional development for education?
Chatfield Elementary is a school in a lower income area of Grand Junction, Colorado, Clifton area. It was in turnaround status, which is our lowest performance status 3 years ago. they were able to improve to above average status over 3 years. So what did they do? Really, of course, as always, the leadership and the team of educators play a key role. They better aligned their classroom practices to the standards. They engaged in extensive professional development. The ESSER funds were used by the school district to provide literacy coaches and math coaches, and they were able to improve over the last 3 years to be above average, 3 bands of performance over the last 3 years, which is quite remarkable.
Thank you so much. I say I'm over time. I yield back. Thank you, Madam Chair.